if you're a business owner or entrepreneur and you've got a lot of passion for your business, sometimes we don't recognize how much love, the love in our life through our partner, is affecting our ability to go get those big results. And today we're going to do a little bit exploring in honor of Valentine's Day, how to bring more love into your life and let it really help you soar in business. Hi, I'm Melanie Benson-Strick, and I'm a small business optimizer and a profit strategist for entrepreneurs and business owners who have a huge vision of what they want to accomplish in this world. And each week, I am bringing you tips and strategies to help you make your business perform better and to feel more fulfilled from the inside out. And today, I have the really, really great pleasure of introducing you to a friend of mine, Arielle Ford. She's founder of soulmatesecret.com. and author of a book that I absolutely loved, Wabi Sabi Love, and she's got a new book coming out, which we'll share more about in a minute. But she spent the last like 25 years or so, probably a little bit more in there, living and promoting consciousness through all forms of media. And I have to say, we're really in store for a beautiful treat today, because this is a woman who's been a mega rock star in the business world, and now has turned her attention to consciousness and love. And, Arielle, you just have some profound advice that's moved me at times and you've been a real model for me in creating lasting love. And I'm really super excited to share some of your insights and how we can improve our business through love. So thanks for coming on today.
Thanks for having me on. I'm really happy to be here with you.
So I think it would be really fun just to give a little bit of backstory about how you got to the point in your life where you wanted to bring more consciousness out in the world through love.
Well, here's what happened. I was a first-time bride at the age of 44. And I quickly realized as soon as I got married that I had zero partnership skills. I was really good at being the boss and running my business and telling people what to do, but really clueless on how to be a good partner. So I had manifested this magnificent soulmate, but I really had no clue about what I was doing. And I decided that I had to become a student of love. So that actually morphed into a whole career, because when I put my attention on something, I really go crazy. And I spent 130 hours doing one-on-one interviews with the world's leading love, marriage, and relationship experts. And then I road tested all of the best advice I got. And that became the topic of my newest book, which is called Turn Your Mate into Your Soulmate. So I've got lots of information to share. And the other thing that I want to mention is that one of the things when I got married at 44 that I never anticipated and never expected was that my income doubled.
That's exciting.
And it wasn't because I was focused on doubling my income. It just happened organically. And when I noticed it, I started to think, like, why? What's different? Here's what's different. For the first time in my life, I had somebody who loved me and was devoted to me and was my safe place to land and my sounding block, who was looking out for me, who totally had my back. And by having that level of love and support, which I'd never had before, life just happened and business just happened. And I was freed up in a way that I'd never been free before to really enjoy my success and to have somebody to share it with. So and not only did my business double, which was great, I became healthier, like physically healthier in ways I'd never been before. So adding love into the business mix is better than anything I could ever imagine.
You're creating such a picture of hope for us, especially maybe people who are feeling out of sorts or feeling alone in their life and don't have a partner. But I know there's a lot of people who maybe are in partnership and they don't feel that safe place to land, and maybe it's actually costing them energy. And, it's not the most pleasant thing to have to think about, but maybe we could address for a couple minutes some signs that you're in a place, whether you're dating or you're married, that maybe this relationship isn't really boosting you up and it's actually taking a lot of energy. And I just want to say as a side note, you put out a beautiful post today. It happened to just catch it before I knew we were going to have this conversation about real conscious love and what that means and some of those signs that you're in that conscious love. And I thought, let's help people know, are they in it or are they not in it? Because you also have some
Let's
freedom
go back.
package.
Let's go backwards, because the way you frame the question, it looks like the problem's over there with the partner.
Okay.
And most of the time it's not. Okay.
Great point.
If you're with somebody who you once believed was your soulmate, and now you no longer do believe that they're your soulmate, it may be because you bought into the myth that a soulmate relationship's supposed to be easy, that you're supposed to live happily ever after, and that they'll intuitively know how to make you happy. That is just one big fat giant lie. Soulmate relationships exist for the purpose of healing on the deepest level. We attract to us the person who's going to come with the playbook on how to press all of our buttons. Now, that doesn't show up immediately. What happens when you first meet your soulmate is you fall in love. And you have all these water tastes wetter, air smells sweeter, champagne bubbles are flowing through my veins feelings. And our brain is cascaded with chemicals like dopamine and adrenaline and vasopressin and oxytocin. And we are in what I call the socially acceptable form of insanity.
That's well said.
Literally crazy in love. And that lasts for 6 to 18 months and then it goes away. And this is nature's trick to bring us together, to get us to procreate. And when those feelings go away, most of us think the love has gone away as well, because we weren't taught to understand that love is much, much, much more than a feeling. Love is a behavior, and it's a choice, and it's a decision, and it's a commitment. And you're not always going to feel it, which means we have to put on our big girl panties and our big boy shorts and become emotionally mature adults and do the deeper work. And this is what's normal. But we live as if something's wrong, that it's not normal to have bumps in the road. So here are some of the bumps in the road. There's a marriage researcher, one of the premier ones in the universe. His name is Dr. John Gottman, and he's at the University of Washington. And what he's discovered is that every couple, not just some, but every couple has a minimum of 9 irreconcilable differences. These are things on which you are never, ever, ever, ever going to agree. And yet you have to coexist with this soulmate that you've married. So what does that look like? Well, it looks like learning how to love and respect your partner in spite of the differences. It looks like learning to figure out creative solutions, not necessarily compromises. I don't actually believe in compromises because then everybody loses, but creative solutions. So I'm going to give you an example of this from my own life. You've probably heard that the number one cause of divorce is money, right?
Yeah.
That's because almost every couple, there's a spender and a saver. Nature's trick. In my relationship, I was the saver. Brian was the spender. And when we got together, I was just appalled with how he would spend money, because I grew up in a relatively poor family where the biggest fights were always about money, and my grandmother never stopped talking about surviving the Depression. And at the time, I didn't know the name for it. I know it now. I had poverty consciousness. Now, I married a guy who grew up with wealthy parents, got out of business school, made a ton of money, and for him, money was not an issue. Spending money gave him great joy. Now we come together, and we've pooled our money, and I am going crazy at the way he spends our money. And so it took a long time to really learn to trust and understand that he is a financially responsible human being. And what was really hard for me was that I had to go into therapy and to learn about my poverty consciousness and then be vulnerable enough to share with him that my greatest, deepest fear, the thing that drove me to all my success, was my fear of becoming a bag lady, of being homeless. of not having any money, which caused me to hold on to every penny I ever made. So here we were, oil and water. How are we going to survive? It required a lot of heartfelt conversations. I had to learn to trust his instincts with money, which were very trustable. They just weren't my instincts. And he had to learn to have compassion for my fears around money. And now today, 18 years later, it's not an issue. I still prefer to shop sales. And he, for the first time in his life, doesn't mind shopping sales. When I met him, he'd never, ever looked at a sale rack, and we have agreements around money. I don't police his spending. He doesn't police mine. But if there's going to be a large 5-figure sum spent, we have a conversation about it to make sure that we're on the same page. So that's just one example of what's possible.
Yeah, and that's a great example because you're tapping into something that's so fundamentally volatile for a lot of people. And, total side note for a second, but I'm thinking as you're talking, how you're actually describing a lot of dynamics in a lot of relationships. These principles go out way beyond even just our one-on-one love partner. We have these kind of dynamics with our business partner, with key members of our team, with family members. So these are great things that we can put into place to improve a lot of our different relationships.
And part of that comes out of the fact that we're raised a particular way. So we get these ideas about how life is and how it should be and what's right and what's wrong. And we don't have any space for a different point of view, but yet we've connected our life to other people who were brought up totally differently. Some people are neat freaks and perfectionists. I'm very messy and very comfortable with clutter. Of course, I'm married to a neat freak.
Of course.
And that's normal, but we keep living like it's not normal. And that's really what I want to drive home for people, that once you're with your soulmate, there are going to be days when you don't like them very much. And that's reality and that's normal. But what it's our job to do is to get ourselves into a heart neutral space, to love and accept them for who they are, with one caveat: if there's abuse, addiction, or bad behavior, professional help is called for. But for all the annoying stuff that happens, if you learn how to talk to people from a place of deep love, care, concern, and compassion, you can work it out. And in Turn Your Mate into Your Soulmate, I actually give you the scripts on how to have the hard conversations.
That's super valuable because a lot of people, they have the right intentions, but the way they're trying to communicate can kind of create a little bit more of a breakdown. So having a way to talk to your mate and be heard and do it constructively could be really valuable.
Let me give you one example of how to do this. Okay, so let's say you and your beloved go off to a party one night, and you're sitting with Joan and Jack, and he says something that really drives you crazy. It's embarrassing or humiliating or whatever. Now, you're smart enough not to attack him right there publicly. In fact, you've decided you're not even going to talk to him on the drive home because you're so angry. But the next day, the most effective way to talk to him, and I'm just going to mimic it for you, is like, honey, I have a problem that I really need your help with. Do you have 10 minutes sometime today to sit down with me? And of course, he's going to give you 10 minutes. So at your appointed time, you're going to say, is this still a good time? And he's going to say, yeah, what's your problem? And the first thing you're going to do is say, first I want to really acknowledge you. I saw that you were helping little Johnny with his math homework over the weekend. And you're such a great dad. I'm so proud of the dad that you've become. And I know how hard you've been working to take care of us, and you're doing a really great job of that. And I probably don't tell you often enough how much I love and admire you. And here's what my problem is. Now, I know that you would never, ever intentionally embarrass or humiliate me. I know that about you. But last night at the party, when we were with Joan and Jack and you said ABC, I really was embarrassed by XYZ. That's how you set it up. And of course he's going to say, oh my God, I never, ever meant to do that. I'm so sorry. How can I make it up to you? That's an effective way to have a conversation that's difficult, as opposed to, you stupid jerk, I can't believe you said ABC. What is it? Do you hate me? And so it's all about getting to heart neutrality, your tone of voice, acknowledging what's working, and then speaking from an I place and from a very vulnerable place. It really hurt me that you shared this with them. And then
Mhm.
give them the space and the time. Then shut up, put masking tape on your mouth, just totally shut up and let them talk.
Yeah, that's a great formula. There's a conversation that couples have about business that I want to tackle with you. I almost feel like I have the column Ask Arielle right now. Uh, and, in my 15 years of coaching business owners, this is probably one of the top 5 stuck points that my entrepreneurs get into. And that is they have a mate who has a very different philosophy around money, as you were describing earlier. And so as they're trying to invest and grow in their business, their partner is freaking out and getting more and more tense, and there's more stress. And, whether they're vocal about it or just being very energetically put off, it's causing a major rift in the coupleship.
Yeah.
What kind of advice could you give someone using your techniques to help them move through that and get into a harmonious place with how they're trying to grow their business?
Yeah, well, if it were, if it's me, I understand how risk adverse I am and how conservative I am. So you have to keep the conversations transparent,
Yeah.
and you have to, it's your, if you're the one risking the money, you're responsible for keeping them informed and looking for ways to make them feel safe.
That's really the key right there, isn't it? How do you make the other person feel safe, even though you may be doing things that are outside of their comfort zone?
Yes, and it's tricky, especially, if you're the one, in charge of the money and they don't have much say in it, then you have to sort of make a case for it. It's like, listen, I understand that this is risky, and here's the upside if it works. Here's the downside if it doesn't work. Are you willing to take a risk with me? Are you willing to have my back with me? And if they're not, maybe you need to find an investor that will be. Because, according to Maslow's hierarchy of needs, safety is our number one need. So how can we be responsible so everybody's feeling safe? And it may require some long nights and conversations. What Brian and I started business together as soon as we met.
Mm.
I'd not only never had a soulmate partner before, I'd never had a business partner. I was a lone ranger. I was used to doing everything myself, making all the decisions, and never, ever having to consult somebody else about anything. And then suddenly we're business partners, and it never occurred to me that he wasn't as fast as I am. I mean, when I worked with Deepak Chopra for 12 years, he called me Speedy. I get shit done. I'm like this. Something comes across my desk, it's off my desk in 5 minutes. And that's how I operate. And suddenly we have this literary agency together. My job is to find the authors, shape the books, go to New York, sell the books, and his job was to then handle the contract negotiations and the ongoing client relationships. We had different expertise. Before him, I used lawyers to do that for me. Now I had a guy who was great in business and contracts and was really great with handholding, fussy clients. But the contracts would come in, and I would give him the contract. And I'd wait a day, and I'd wait 2 days, and then 3 days later, I'd ask him, well, what's happening with the ABC contract? Oh, I'm gonna work on that over the weekend. And that would be the whole answer. And I'm thinking to myself, what's more important than getting this contract done? Well, it took me about a year to really understand that he's a very thoughtful, precise guy. He was reading the contract multiple times, thinking things through, dotting the I's, crossing the T's in ways that I don't do. I'm not only messy and sloppy, I'm comfortable with typos, right? But he's not. He wanted the contract to be just right. And he wanted to have conversations with the publisher, and he wanted to have conversations with the author. And that's an excellent way of doing business when you're handling contracts. But it wasn't fast enough for me until I learned to respect his process. So it's a tricky thing being in business with your spouse. I don't recommend it for people who don't have high ambition. You have to have a lot of ambition. And eventually we closed the business down because I just wanted to get out of the whole publishing arena completely.
Yeah.
But yeah, love and respect is really critical to the key, and understanding people's core needs, because how can they support you if they're scared to death of being a bad lady?
Yeah. Well, and it's interesting you brought up business partnerships because that's actually another um, area that a lot of people who are in love think they're supposed to be in business partnership together. And it's actually, in my experience, the two greatest personal development trainings on the planet is marriage and business. So now you throw them together and you've got a triple whammy, massively intensive personal development program.
I would never do it again.
Yeah.
It's just too hard because, a business relationship is a soulmate relationship.
Mm-hmm.
And it is bringing up all your stuff, and they are going to have different point of views. And when you're married, it kills your sex life.
Yeah.
Because as you know, when you're a woman in business, you're operating out of your masculine energy. And then
Mm-hmm.
if you're married to an alpha male and he wants to be the masculine energy, then you're constantly butting heads. This was another thing we discovered when we got into business together, because sometimes we'd be out to dinner at 8 o'clock at night, and then he'd be ready to talk about the contract. And he didn't realize that I'd come home from work, taken a bath, practiced my belly dancing, put on makeup so I could drop out of my masculine energy into my feminine energy. And now he wants to talk business, and we had to work through that so he could understand that if I was going to be the feminine energy, then we couldn't be talking business after 6 o'clock outside the office. And that was another thing that really took some structure, because I like being in my masculine energy.
Mm-hmm.
It's really
It's
fun.
easy.
It's more natural for me, but it's not good for your sex life.
Yes. What if achieving higher levels of success was more about changing your thoughts than it was about changing your strategies? Hi, it's Melanie Benson Strick, and I've got a quick resource for you. I want to give you a free copy of my new book, Rewired for Wealth. And inside this book, I'm going to teach you what I personally learned about how my thoughts were either sabotaging or setting me up to create success and put it on autopilot. Now, this book is free for a limited time. You can grab it now at rewiredforwealth.com. Now, let's get back to our program. And I would like to dig deeper into this because I think transitions, whether you're male or female, and how you leave work and come into the relationship are really, really powerful. And just a quick little story that has stayed with me my entire life. Back when in my corporate days, one of the men that I worked with who was in sales told me that he had a ritual. When he left work, he spent the hour on the train finishing up a few emails, getting the work done, and then he spent the last 15 minutes getting, into his home energy. When he walked in the door, work went away and he was fully present to his family. And I always remembered that transition as something that stuck with me because as a high-powered woman, I didn't do well with transitions. And if I was in that masculine energy, I was not really present to the relationship. So maybe you just shared a great transition for the woman, but what about the man coming home? Do you have a suggestion for that?
It's brilliant what you just said, and I've never thought about a man needing to transition to come home. So I think what you shared really outlines that, you want to figure out a way to drop out of the business mode into, daddy mode or whatever it is.
Or husband mode or lover mode or whatever.
And maybe that, you just need to figure out what works for you and then share that with your partner,
Mm-hmm.
and create the space. And it may be that what you want to do is come home, go for a run and clear your head, or you're going to do what the guy did. He had time on the train to sort of let go of his day. For me, when I need to do it, I pretty much will take a bath to cure anything, and I have all kinds of bath salts and bath oils and bath aromatherapy stuff that I use to actually soak in the water and let go of the day and just drop back into my core self.
Mm. I got to try that. I actually can't think of the last time I had a bath because I don't love my bathtub right now. So that's a great idea. I learned so much from my guests, like these great little rituals and tips and insights. And sometimes I can't wait to go put them into action. So I'm gonna have to figure out how to turn the kids' bathroom into my sanctuary when I need a bath.
Yeah, and pretty much candles and some aromatherapy will do the trick.
Great. I'm all over it. I'll let you know how it goes. So, I want to just check in and see what else is it about, really like finding this soulmate energy in your mate that we want to share with people today.
Well, I think let's really define what a soulmate is.
Great.
Okay, so first and foremost, it's somebody you can completely be yourself with, somebody with you whom you share unconditional love, and when you look into their eyes, you have the experience of being home.
Mm.
So that definition can go beyond a romantic soulmate. It could be your kids or your parents, your siblings, or your business partners, your best friend, even your cats and your dogs. So you want to really be grateful for all the love that you have. But when you're with your romantic soulmate and you're pissed off or angry or disappointed or frustrated, the first thing you want to do is not lash out at them, but find a way to get yourself into heart neutrality and in turn your mate into your soulmate. There's lots of techniques for that. There's EFT tapping, the Sedona method, doing a heart math, heart lock-in, taking a bath, praying. There's lots of ways to let it go. And then if you're really thinking that, it's just over, he's not it, she's not it anymore, what I would encourage you to do is to give it 6 months where you're willing to take some baby steps and try some things. And here's why you really want to do this. So we all know that 50% of first marriages end in divorce, but what most people don't know is that 64% of second marriages and 73% of third marriages end in divorce.
Wow.
So thinking the grass is greener somewhere else isn't really true. And the reason for this is that the consistent factor in the first, second, and third marriage is you. So it's looking like the problem's over there, and really it may be in how you're approaching it. So that's something that I go into a lot about, really re-envisioning the one that you're with. And chances are, if you're willing to do that, you can rediscover those great, amazing feeling and love feelings that you've lost temporarily. They're not gone forever. They're just covered up with life. And one of the fastest ways to do that is to remember how, when, and where you fell in love with this person. To go back and immerse yourself in the details. Like, what was that first impression like? When did you first fall in love? What did they say? Where were you? What behaviors did you observe that you really admired? And really get back in touch with that. And then sit down and write it all out for them. Write them a beautiful love letter of memories of what first drew you to them. And then put it in a really nice "I love you just because" card, and put it somewhere where they're going to find it when you're not around. And that will open a door to start a conversation. Because if you're frustrated, chances are they're frustrated. And you're frustrated because you kept thinking that whatever's happening isn't normal, or you didn't know how to deal with it. And all the ways to deal with it are in turn your mate to your soulmate. I mean, really. And they're not that hard. It just requires a little bit of discovery. And it's stuff that we weren't taught. We don't know how to do this. So I made it simple. I aggregated all the best information and put it in 200 pages.
Yeah. And what I'm really hearing you say here, which I'm a firm believer in, is take responsibility for creating the connection again. Sometimes I think we wait for other people to solve it, for them to do something different. And if you just really own that and be willing to be the one to do it first, sometimes you can create exactly what you want.
I hear some of the women in the audience saying, well, why do I always have to do all the work?
Yeah.
Well, here's why. Here's why you have to do the work. Because you're the saner one in the relationship. All right? And you're the one who's going to benefit immensely, because when you take personal responsibility for your own happiness and for the future of your relationship, that's when it has real possibility. And I'm gonna share a story from the book from our mutual beloved friend Jack Canfield.
Okay.
Okay, so when we were at the ATL meeting a year ago, when I spoke and we connected, Inga Canfield, Jack's wife of 17 years, sat down with me and said, I think my marriage is over.
Mm.
She said, Jack and I are going through a really, really difficult time. I've about had it. She said, I'm so tired of feeling like I'm his refueling station. That's all I am. He's out in the world every day, late at night. By the time he comes home, he has nothing left to give. And I feel like all I do is refuel him, and I'm sick of it.
Mm.
She was crying and she was upset. And I said to her, Inga, I just want you to think about one possibility. I said, I don't think you realize what an important job you have in the world. That Jack couldn't be Jack without Inga. There's no possible way he could give and do what he does without you. And you take it for granted and you don't understand who you are in this world and how much all of us need you because we need Jack too. And the next day, she and Jack are at breakfast, and they both have these crazy, stupid smiles on their face. And they're like, come sit with us, come sit with us. And I was like, okay. And I sit down to breakfast, and I was like, well, what happened last night? And they both start talking at once. It's like, no, no, shut up, one at a time. I want to hear it from Inga. And Inga says to me, she said, I kept thinking about what you said, and I couldn't sleep. And at 3 in the morning, I woke Jack up, and I told him that I hadn't been fighting for our marriage, that
Mm.
I was ready to give up. And I realized how much I loved him and how much I wanted to fight for this marriage and make it work. And she said, he just responded to me and said everything I ever wanted to hear. And now I'm happy to tell you that I fully embraced the greatest job in the world. I am Jack's refueling station.
It's so beautiful. And I remember that warm, fuzzy couple the day after this happened. And it was like these magical sparks had reignited, and it was beautiful to watch.
Yeah. And I
And
actually got an email from Jack the other day. He said, I just want you to know that every night in bed, Inga's reading your book, Turn Your Maiden
ah,
to Me.
that's awesome.
And
And
that's what's possible. Did
yes,
Jack change? Jack did not change. That's what's important to know. It looked like Jack's the problem. Inga had a shift in perception.
yes.
And she had an aha moment, what I call a wabi-sabi love moment. Is, oh my God, what am I doing? And she took personal responsibility, and now they're both shining.
Yes. And really that's what I wanted to make sure everybody got from that story is that most of us are focused on making people do things differently so we can be happy. It's always in us. You have to shift your perception, change your story, makes this mean something more aligned with what you want to feel in love about, and you can have that love come back in a nanosecond. And
Yes.
and it's so much easier.
I want to share one more short story along
Sure.
the same line. So I was teaching a workshop in Sun Valley, Idaho, a couple of years ago, and this woman stood up and she said, she was really kind of funny. She said, I have a problem even you can't solve. And I was like,
Ooh.
oh, okay, challenge me. What is it? She said, well, my name's Stephanie, and I've been married to Garth for 16 years. And I'm a perfectionist. I like everything neat and orderly and in its place. And my husband's a total slob. The good news is he works out of state 2 weeks of every month. So when he's gone, the house is mine. But when he comes home, it's in total chaos within hours. And she said, I hate to admit this, but I actually start counting the days until he's going to leave again and I can have my house back. So I thought about it for a moment and I said to her, Stephanie, do you have a dog? She said, yes. I said, does your dog shed? Yes. Well, what do you do when the dog sheds? Oh, I vacuum up after him. Stephanie, do you love your dog? And she got really quiet, and then she said, oh my God, Garth sheds. And just like the dog can't help that he sheds, neither can Garth. Now, I called her a year after this to see what was going on. And it's like, hey, Stephanie, it's Arielle. How are things going with Garth? She's like, oh my God, we've never been happier. She said, we are so happy that he quit his job and he now has a home-based business, so we're always together.
Oh, wow.
Of course, he's still a slob, but I don't care anymore.
That's beautiful.
Now, he
I love
didn't
it.
change, right?
Yeah. I mean,
So clear.
I've heard you tell so many of these stories that every time I just melt because I've had enough challenging relationships end in horrible ways, and disappointment and heartbreak. And what you're giving people is a gift to not have to have something end, and you can reclaim the magic.
Yes. Now I want to, I know we don't have a lot of time left, but I want to tell you one really crazy way to kickstart those feeling and love feelings.
That's perfect. I was going to ask you to wrap up with the tips. So
Okay.
perfect.
All right. So what you need to do with your partner is you have to decide together to do something that you both perceive as life threatening. So this could be skydiving, bungee jumping, zip lining, roller coaster, scary movie, but you both have to be equally afraid of it.
Okay.
And the reason you do this is when you have this shared adrenaline rush, it releases all those same brain chemistry things. All these bonding hormones get kicked up because you've survived something scary together. So I would recommend that you figure out what you can both do and then go from that activity to a nice hotel and knock yourselves out.
That's awesome. And I can definitely say I went ziplining with my fiance when we were in Hawaii. And it was amazing, like that adrenaline and that conquering this fear together because we both have fear of heights. So it is definitely creates some good juice flowing.
Does, absolutely. This stuff works, you know.
Yeah.
It doesn't work if you don't know about it or if you don't try it.
Yeah.
It's not hard, it's not scary. It just requires that you put a little time and energy and intention and attention onto your love life.
And imagine what could happen. And Arielle, I'll have you share where they can get the book in a second. But imagine what could happen for you if you put as much energy into your relationship soaring as you did your business soaring. And with the right tools, it's easy to do. So Arielle, could you share with people how they can get the book?
Yes, go to soulmatesecret.com, soulmatesecret.com, and you can download a couple of free chapters of the book. And then the book's available in bookstores and online everywhere. So I would definitely take a look at it or go straight to Amazon because I am living proof that this stuff works.
Yeah, me too. Although I didn't know I was applying all of Arielle's secrets in the beginning, but I resonate with everything that you're saying. And I had to learn a lot of that the painful hard way. And
As we all did.
yeah. So thank God the book's there now that we don't have to do it the hard way anymore. Thank you so much for being here and sharing these beautiful gifts with us to celebrate Love Week. And I really want to invite you as our listener today to get the book. And, whether or not you're married or in a relationship, apply it in your life to someone that you care about. Sometimes creating that love in your life with someone who's a friend or a family member can help activate those feelings and connections with your mate that's out there looking for you. And that's a whole nother call for another day, but we're really glad that you've been here today. And I'd love if you would share an aha that you're going to apply from today's show on the show page at melaniebensonstrick.com. And if it's not right up there on top, just search for Soulmate Secret. And thanks for being here today. We'll be back again next week with some more powerful tips for you to power up your business from the inside out. Bye, Arielle. Bye, everybody. See you.
Thank you.